Hi, everyone. I'm John C. Morley, the host of the J. Moore Tech Talk Show and Inspirations for Your Life. Well, hey everyone, and welcome once again to the J. Moore Tech Talk Show. We only have one more week in this month, Marcus. Where'd it go?
It went away. Talk about springing up.
But we have a great guest tonight. We've had him on before, but there's always some wisdom that we need to learn from him. Dr. Michael Nuccitelli. We'll learn a little more about him later. And he's going to be sharing some really important facts about life and about how you need to stay safe with your life and your children. And I want to share something that's really important before we actually bring him up, because I definitely don't want to keep him waiting too long in our waiting room. But the question I have for all of you is, what makes a child vulnerable to predators at home? Makes them vulnerable. Well, that's a great question. And it's teens, and that darn technology they use that makes them vulnerable to becoming victims. So how does this happen? Well, the way it happens is because a lot of teens, go into this introvert state, and they use their devices, usually in their bedrooms, which is not a great idea. And also, because their parents are busy, they use technology in a bad way, and they connect with all these people that have this superficial charm. And based on that, they become best friends with them because they can't even become friends with their parents because they're too busy. Right. Which, if the parents actually knew what was going on, they probably would spend more time with their children. And so what I want to understand is that teens and technology is where the challenge happens. And so later on in the program, after Dr. Michael Nuccitelli comes up, I'm going to share some tips on how you can actually, I'm going to call it, lock down and protect your child so they can still have a little bit of freedom, but you can still get some peace of mind. Because one thing we don't want here on the J. Moore Tech Talk Show is to have your kids becoming a statistic or becoming a victim. And we hear about this all the time. You're like, well, it's not my kid. It's not my kid. It's never going to happen to me. I get it. I know they're intelligent. I know they're great kids. But at the end of the day, they get lonely and they look for an outlet. And when somebody else is willing to take an interest in them, even though that interest appearing to be genuine is nothing but garbage, it causes your son or daughter to want to befriend them. And that's where, ladies and gentlemen, it becomes live and it gets very, very dangerous. I want to welcome to the J. Moore Tech Talk Show Dr. Michael Nuccitelli, who is an expert in cyberbullying, cyber stalking, cyber criminal minds, and helping people to understand that the decisions that we make online actually fuel the things we do offline. Please help me welcome once again, and I'm sure we'll see him many times in the future, Dr. Michael Nuccitelli to the J. Moore Tech Talk Show. One. Well, hi, everyone. It is my pleasure to have Dr. Nuccitelli with us once again. He was with us just around the start of the pandemic, if I remember correctly. And I told you that we would bring him back on. He was a great guest, and he has some more great information. If you don't know who Dr. Michael Nuccitelli is, He's an expert in the psychology of cyberbullying, cyber stalking, cyber criminal minds, and by day, he is also a clinical psychologist. Please help me welcome, give a warm round to Mr. Dr. Michael Nuccitelli to talk to us today about some things that we need to know in our minds, because if we don't, might get us or other people into some serious trouble. Welcome, Dr. Nuccitelli, to the Jay Moore Tech Talk Show.
Oh, good day, Mr. Morley. Thank you for having me on, and hoping everybody, as I always say, both online safe and COVID safe.
We joke about that, but I think it's the truth, because now we're taking off the mask. And another guest told me this.
Yes.
That 4 or 5 years ago, if I walked into a convenience store and I had a mask on my face,
Exactly.
I think they would call the cops or they would arrest me, right?
Yes.
Now, it's okay to go into a bank masked up.
Mm-hmm.
I was somewhere the other day at a school, they scan your IDs to make sure you haven't done anything. And by the way, that's a misnomer, because they only check what happened 24 or 48 hours. They can't check what just happened 10 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
You're hoping somebody didn't do anything. But my point, when I did this, I had my mask on. I said to the guy, should I take No, don't worry about your mask. You're fine. He didn't even want me to take my mask off to see. I could have been 10 other different people under that mask, right? So you cover a lot of great topics. And the one that I want to talk about first today is, a lot of people don't know what is iPredator, right? iPredator is a standard. So give us a few moments to talk a little bit about iPredator, and maybe just give us a little rundown so some of the viewers at home, it's not just a word that you and I just made up today.
No, it's not. No, it's a, I don't know, I call it a dark side of cyberspace concept. So you can say it involves cyber psychology, but essentially what iPredator is, as I said, it's a dark side of cyberspace concept that introduces 8 different types of online aggressors. And I can give those to your listeners very quickly. First, we have cyberbullying, which is the pediatric manifestation, and that is child-on-child cyber attacks. The adult forms of cyberbullying would be cyber harassers, cyber stalkers, and internet trolls. Then we have cyber criminals, cyber terrorists, and then the most deviant and perverse of the 8 are the online child predators and online child pornography consumers and distributors. Those 8 types of online aggressors makes up the concept of iPredator. So that is the first aspect of iPredator. And then second, very quickly, for your viewers to know whether or not they or someone they know is an iPredator, very simple, is the use of information communication technology to target and harm someone else. Number 2 is a self-awareness of causing harm to someone else, which can be a little bit murky when we talk about mitigating factors, but the vast majority of people, online users, are aware when they're causing harm. And then the third criteria is called, what I call, is cyber stealth, which is not only online deception, but is creating a methodology, a system of how you're going to completely maintain your anonymity when you're targeting others, or you're going to skew aspects of what you're doing in order to have what, many know what's called plausible deniability. So if you meet those 3 criteria and you do it repeatedly, more than 3 times, 3 or more, you are an iPredator.
So that's a great concept. And a lot of people of variety of different ages, dating has morphed from something in person to now being online. And I guess my question is, because a lot of people out there, they don't think they're doing anything wrong. So let's kind of educate them. Is it okay for them to have their first name and not their full name? They're not lying about themselves, but they just don't want to give too much information because they're afraid that their identity might get stolen.
Most certainly. For online safety purposes, it is recommended these days not to give out. And I will start off. I'll give you a quick online safety tip. I say it all the time. Every volunteer call: personal information, personal information, personal information. The less personal information you give out online, the lower probability you have of getting targeted. Now, if you're going to have a pseudonym, that's certainly fine. Some may not agree with it, but if you're looking to practice online safety, sometimes it's a good idea. Now, if you're an educator, if you're a public figure such as yourself, or maybe myself, I can't give out a false name because I have a concept attached to that, and I educate folks about dealing with it. But there are many tips and many different tactics to take. But what it comes down to is, if you're being targeted by an eye predator, it is beginning to understand whether you can identify them. Oftentimes, you know who the eye predator is, but then there is the possibility of not knowing who an eye predator is. So it is essentially practicing digital citizenship and online safety in order to reduce the probability as low as possible.
So it's okay, like I always use the joke, but it's a truth. You wouldn't give out your credit card to a total stranger in person, or your social security number for that matter, right?
Of course.
But you'll do it over the internet. You feel comfortable, you feel like it's okay, but it's not. And so people that are dating, they go online, they create a profile, they have a good picture. You don't want to use a false picture, but they use a picture, and they might not use their right first name. It's okay. What I tell people to do a lot of times is, you don't know if the person you're going to be with is going to be a problem. You don't know. And so a lot of times I tell people, don't give your phone number out.
No, never give out your no.
If you need a way to communicate, use a disposable number for the
right. Well, and also it's always, when it comes to online dating, which I have a page on my site, an online dating safety tips, is to always, before you disclose any personal aspects about yourself, is you meet in a public arena first, whether it be at a restaurant, a mall. And obviously it's highly recommended, particularly for females, on that first date or that first meeting. Not only do you meet in a public forum, but you bring along a friend or someone.
Absolutely.
So that is very important.
But using a disposable number for the purposes of, having a way to communicate with someone. And the nice thing I like is when we talk about stalking, okay?
Yes.
People don't realize that, I gave my phone number out because I was being innocent. And I said, gee, I didn't know that Sarah or Mike or Kara were going to keep. And I said, please stop calling me. But yet they're calling me, they're harassing me. And why don't we just clarify for the viewers, Dr. Nuccitelli, because I know this is a real big concept for a lot of people, especially teenagers and older. What does it mean when we say cyber stalking? Let's talk about what does that mean? If we could talk about.
Thank you for bringing that up, because that is a growing topic and a growing trend. So stalking and cyber stalking are pretty much the same thing, but obviously cyber stalking is the use of information technology, whether any type of electronic device. You could also throw in using mail, emails, but essentially there are three types of cyber stalking. There is the first one, which is habitually contacting somebody using electronic devices. So commonly, it's kind of like joking, when a female will say, oh, I wish that John would stop. He's cyber stalking. He won't stop calling. He keeps emailing me. That is the softest form of cyber stalking, although it can be frustrating and it can move into something serious. But that is the most, if I may say, soft. Another definition of cyber stalking is, which Mr. Morley, you wouldn't even know, is online surveillance. Online surveillance is where I am taking my time. I may be spending money to compile data about you and to learn every aspect I can about you and your loved ones. That can include me going and monitoring your social media accounts, spending money to be able to compile personal data about you. So that is online surveillance. But the one that is the most severe and the most potentially lethal and dangerous is the direct or indirect threats of physical harm. So if I make indirect or direct threats of physical harm, and you begin to experience fear, and I do it repeatedly, that is cyber stalking. Children can cyber stalk one another, and adults can cyber stalk one another. But the issue with cyber stalking is that when cyber stalking has occurred, it can move into serious issues. And oftentimes, cyber stalking and stalking walk hand in hand. Not all the time, but they can occur simultaneously. And matter of fact, I would guess, again, I don't have hard facts, it's based on all my research, I would say between 80 to 90% of all cyber stalking, the target, the victim, knows or is affiliated to the predator that's doing the cyber stalking.
I tend to agree with you. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, when they do this, a lot of times it can just be a neighborly dispute. But what I want to caution people, and you can give your 2 cents on this, being a first responder, I've come in contact with people where, they have a dispute between 2 neighbors, and it's a dispute. That's all it is. It doesn't need to turn into a legal battle. But what a lot of people sometimes do is they lie. Yes. And when you go to the police and you tell them that, there's a problem, they don't do anything unless you tell them you're in fear of your life.
Right.
That's the only time. And once you do that, now you make a statement, a whole testimony, and guess what happens? Well, there's a good shot that person could probably get arrested, I'm guessing.
Well, and that is why cyber stalking it's not just a direct or indirect threat of hurting you. It's also if, I'm becoming afraid of what you're doing. So you don't have to say, Dr. Nuccitelli, I'm going to put 9-penny nails in your back tires. I'm going to burn down your house. No, you could be trolling, harassing, taunting me. And if I begin to fear and start to question not only my own safety or my loved ones, or maybe folks, associates at my job, that is cyber stalking.
And again, I think this can happen between boyfriend, girlfriend, same-sex relationships. And the big challenge with this is that a lot of times it's used as an edge because they have an ego and they're trying to, win when really nobody did anything wrong, but they're trying to lie about a situation. I've seen that happen.
Right. And I mean, all adversarial relationships is rooted in whether it's an interpersonal relationship, a love relationship, whether it are 2 work associates, whether it is, consumer and, product service provider. It's rooted in power and control. That's what it's all about. So when there are disagreements online, they can quickly accelerate and elevate into heated manner. And one of the reasons why I believe that is because what I call the veil of anonymity. The veil of anonymity, Mr. Morley, even like right now, is I can hide behind a computer screen. I can hide behind my Android, my mobile device. I can either disclose my true identity, or I could be Bob Seger and, I'm talking to you from a different state when in reality, I live right next door. So the veil of anonymity, as I said earlier, one of the criteria to be an predator is cyber stealth. So it's not just maybe hiding my identity completely, but it's also potentially skewing that. And this is where online deception becomes a huge aspect of exchanges online.
So it comes down to what somebody's intention is really what it comes back to, Dr. Nuccitelli. If somebody's hiding because they're trying to protect themselves, no harm, no foul. But if somebody's hiding because I'm trying to do something or cause someone harm or to learn something that could potentially cause them or blackmail them, then that could get into the umbrella of cyber stalking.
Most certainly. Predator. I mean, predator. You can be a child, you can be an adult. You have predator, which is the way I've authored and created predator is that the vast majority, obviously not children and cyberbullying, but a good percentage of it is illegal. It is engaging in abusive, deviant criminal behavior, but you're motivated for those reasons, okay? But then I also have a subconcept of predator called predator bridge. And with iPredator Bridge, these are online users that are actually, they're good at heart, but because they become so enraged and so angry at the person that they're dealing with. So for instance, I'll just give an example. I am a right-wing Republican, and you are a left-wing liberal progressive Democrat, and we are bantering online, and it engages into a heated argument, also called flaming for the kids. And now I begin to target you, and I cross the bridge, and I become an iPredator. Now, my passion, my reason for targeting you is not for criminal reasons, not because I'm a deviant, not because I am a pedophile looking to make money of child pornography. I am targeting you, becoming, engaging as an iPredator, because why? You do not meet my ideological belief system. You hurt my feelings. So now I target you. So the iPredator can also be iPredator Bridge, an online user, a person with a good heart, but now engages in multiple cyber attacks.
I think, this makes us think because, when somebody does something like this, it's premeditated. Usually it's not something that just happens off of a fly, unless they're angry or something like that. But a lot of these stalkings are premeditated. Am I correct about that? That basically they...
Most are, but you get them in a court of law, the mitigating factors. The defense attorney tries to say, that it was done by impulse, a crime of passion. When we look, again, I don't want to get into my life as a forensic psychologist in my past life, but when you're correct, Mr. Plummer, when we're talking about mitigating factors, there are a myriad of reasons why people do what they do. The difference is, though, online, you can do it, you can target people, and there is almost no accountability for targeting, hurting, taunting, oftentimes stealing from other people, trolling. There's no accountability. In this country, and I don't know if in any industrialized country, we do not have what's called criminal defamation. I believe it needs to exist because I believe you can destroy a person's entire career through slander, disinformation, and libel, but we don't have that here. I think it needs to occur. But you can truly brutalize others by using information technology.
I agree. And I've always said that, anything can be used for good or for bad.
Correct.
Whether it's a weapon or whether it's a computer system, whether it's drones, you can use it for good, which is to help you further and empower your life, or you can use it for bad, which is to demean and harm someone else's life, which is a bad use of it. And so I think as now, we're in the COVID, I'm going to call it the wrap up, hopefully, knock wood, really. What is actually going on now in people's heads, do you think, with everything opening up? What do you feel about that now, as opposed to them being locked down into captivity for months?
Well, I think people I'm basing this as one thing is by day, I have my own group practice. I work with the chronically mentally ill. I also supervise my other psychologists and social workers, and we cover different facilities. So by day, I work with the chronically mentally ill, schizoaffective, schizophrenic, depression, developmentally disabled. These are adults that for decades, have suffered from chronic mental illness. All right. Then after work and on the weekends for the last 10, 11 years, I volunteer helping people who've been cyber attacked. So I have seen the entire myriad of folks from offline chronic mental illness to people that are online, that are professionals, doctors, attorneys, learners, folks like yourself that are dealing with what we've just gone through for the last 2 years called COVID and the pandemic. Obviously, as you know, we are social creatures. Carl Jung, Alfred Adler, where I am definitely Adlerian. Adler said, as we come into this world and we go out of this world seeking three things: to be recognized, to be validated, and to be part of. We are social creatures. We are social animals by, that by design. So when you take away the social aspect of community, of going out to community, we have a negative, it has a negative effect on us. And that negative effect can range from depression all the way to rage, all the way to becoming asocial and becoming apathetic. So we know not only has COVID caused a lot of medical illness and death, but at a larger scale, the psychological aspect, from a sociological aspect, it has traumatized most societies significantly. And now what makes it even a little bit more frustrating, and this has been going on the last years, we seem to be fluctuating. And again, I'm not blaming any government because we have new variants of the COVID. We go from it's okay to go outside, back to wearing masks, back to being, and where I reside and I work, I live in an urban area of the metropolitan New York City area. So for my patients and the folks that I'm dealing with on a daily basis, they become incredibly frustrated when they're told they can't go outside. And when they do go outside, and if they go to a local deli and they don't have their mask with them, now, Mr. Morley, these residents, God bless them, they are suffering from major psychiatric illness. So even the smallest little resistance that they get can cause tremendous, distress and despondency. So that is where we are now. I'm just, by the grace of God, I'm hoping we're moving away to where we get back our freedom.
I think we are moving in that direction, but there are still some people that are scared, some people that are older.
Mm-hmm.
You have some people that are worried. I also believe that our administration of the world, I'll call it, is not being truthful with us. They're not sharing what really is going on. I won't get into all that in this show, but like the Ukraine and things that are happening.
Yes.
What's happening there, without getting too deep, is not what it appears on the surface.
Exactly.
What's happening is a good thing for a lot of reasons. And I know there's some bad people there and there's some good people there, but the majority of what's happening for us, you guys have to trust me on this. I know some people in the service, and it's being done for our better good. And later on, this truth is going to come out. And I think that's the problem, is that we were just lied to. We were given misinformation. I think that's the biggest thing. So
one of the things is real, if I may, related to this and not getting into the
sure,
but it's called state-sponsored trolling. It'll be interesting to learn, which we won't know for some time. But state-sponsored trolling is where a state, a nation, a group actually employs and takes online users to troll and to target others and to spread disinformation. All right. You have misinformation, which is not fact. And then you have disinformation, which is even more seedier. Disinformation is with intent, is creating nonsense. Is creating bullshit information and putting it out there and saying it's the truth. And that is what state-sponsored trolls do. The question is, obviously, it's going on right now, but to what extent is it going on, and how effective is it going on? And are regular media outlets picking up this information and now just regurgitating it, over the airways? We don't know.
That's a big problem, and I think what a lot of people need to understand, I tell people don't watch TV because the TV is infiltrated. And not too long ago, I actually became a member of the International Press Association.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reason I did that is being a journalist and also a video journalist, I take providing information very seriously and making sure people understand that it's truth. You've had people in your field, I'm sure, and they said, well, if I give you this, can you write this down? Or can you put this down instead? Mm-hmm. I've had so many people in the tech field, well, John, I'll give you $200. Just make the thing disappear. I can't do that. Well, the other company's going to say, we've been in business X years. Not only is that an illegal thing to do, it's immoral and wrong. Oh, you're one of those people. Yes. And I'll tell you right now, just the fact that you asked me that question, I'm going to recommend that you find another company to handle your IT needs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, we didn't know you were gonna be so offensive, and you were gonna, get all up in your face about it. I said, I just feel that if we're gonna have this conversation today, then what's gonna happen down the road? I'm very serious about that, Dr. Nuccitelli, and I'm also serious about something else, and it's called a no discrimination policy.
Mm-hmm.
I had a client not too long ago, new client. They were talking to us, and they were rude, which is okay. I mean, I can deal with being rude, but there's some things we don't tolerate. So they were starting to curse at us and things like that, and say bad things, and starting to accuse us that we did this and we didn't even do anything there. And so this happened a second time. I told about the first time we don't tolerate that. They did a second time. And when it happened a second time, they were demanding we got back to them. We called them back. We helped them with the problem. We fixed their issue. It wasn't even our issue. Somebody else did it before us. And we're talking with them. And I said, I just want to let you know something. You know, our calls are monitored and recorded for quality assurance purposes, and they're logged digitally for 7 years. You know that. That's no secret. And I want to let you know something. Everything's good right now. Is there anything else we can help you with today? No, we're all good. Great. I want to let you know about our policy. No discrimination. We don't discriminate for race, religion, sexual orientation, color, creed, anything. And this isn't the first time that this has come to my attention, either through me or through other staff members, that you're using words that should not be addressed to us, okay? And you are also having an attitude that is disrespectful to my team, to my staff, to my administration. So I'm going to make this very, very clear to you. This is your final warning. If this happens again, you will get a letter in the mail from us letting you know that your service is being terminated in 30 days. Here are all your passwords, as we can't work with a company like that. A week later, we went out there to talk with them, and they started using those words. I said, what did we say last week? Oh, you're gonna be one of those people? Well, we make so much money, we can do what? I said, that's fine. Have a nice day. Well, you didn't fix anything. I said, I have to go. They got a letter the next day. We're fuming. And I don't know why it is, Dr. Nuccitelli, but why do some people, this is what I want to, why do some people feel entitled? I don't get that.
Why do some people feel that question right there? We could spend hours.
All right. Okay. A short one.
I don't want to psychologize. I mean, it could be an axis one, particularly people that are really self-entitled, tend to be, not always, but that self-entitlement, if it's that overt, okay, because when we talk about self-entitlement, we have to always look at it on a continuum from mild all the way to severe. In the case that you're talking about, it sounded like the self-entitlement of this person was upper moderate to severe, which then would open up the possibility if he or she is axis 2 personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, people that are, moderately to severely narcissistic, they're incredibly self-entitled. People with some axis 1s that are bipolar are also, are self-entitled. And you also have people that don't suffer from a psychiatric illness. How do I say this nicely? They're just jerks. Okay. There are people whose attitude, their personality, and who they are, they live and they believe their narcissism. They believe they're the center of their universe. So of course they're self-entitled because they deserve everything.
I think that's a big nutshell right there. That's a big bombshell right there. But even the lady that comes for the Starbucks or the coffee, and she parks her car there for 5 minutes, and she's there 20 minutes, and then they're blowing her up on Facebook because she was there 25 minutes. And she's like, well, it wasn't my fault. The kid at the barista took 15 minutes. If he knew how to make the coffee right, I would have only been 3 minutes.
Right.
Well, that's not the point. You parked in a spot that was for handicapped people. or for a fire emergency engine. Well, there was no fire then. And that's not the issue. And this is something that, and I'm very calm about everything. I don't like it when people prevaricate.
But as you said, self-entitlement is a wonderful, I mean, geez, I just used it today in session with one of my patients where they were being self-entitled with another resident. It's a nasty attribute, Mr. Morley. You know that. We
Yes.
all, because again, as I said, and again, I'm not selling Alfred Adler, but Adler had said, we are social animals. We're social creatures. And so self-entitlement that is very, I hate to say, antisocial, asocial. It is not pro-social. It is not, conducive to the group and the community when you're self-entitled. It's awful. It's very unattractive too.
So I want to ask you one more question, and then we're going to have you come back because you have lots of great information. We'll have you back again next week. I want to ask you the question, and that is, when is it? Because a lot of people, they obviously push that panic button too quickly, right? They push it too quickly. And I get that people want to be protected. I get that. But when is it that people should be alarmed? When is it that people should get help? I think that's an important question that I want to end on today.
Well, you get help when you grow concerned. Okay. So obviously we all have constitutions. Some of this are easily provoked. Some of this have, what's called the proverbial thick skin. Some of us are just so thick skinned, we're idiots and we don't do anything until the last gun is fired. So when it comes down to being cyber attacked, when it's dealing with predators, it's first and foremost, is it occurring repeatedly? So if you're targeted one time online and somebody makes a crass comment or says something in a public forum online about you and does it one time and everybody gets their ha-has and, you're being castigated, you step back, you take a look, you take stock, you block them, you turn it off, you move on, go outside, get a drink, whatever. But when it begins to happen repeatedly by the same person or persons, that is when you begin to say, is the red flag going up? And then from there, you begin to have to take steps depending on what's going to happen. So it is first and foremost, is it happening in a repeated manner?
I think the most important thing, and you can agree or disagree with me, I think it's communication. I think when something happens with someone, communication is always important at all times. So if there's something that you're doing, and if people are unwilling to communicate, this is why prevarication drives me crazy. I'm not going to try to analyze somebody. But if somebody's lied to me multiple times, then communication is off. Like there's no point. Correct. You're obviously not going to work with me. I had somebody just the other day that told me they were doing stuff, and it was for a charity I was doing. And they're like, well, John, yes, I'm doing this. And I said, I want to ask you a truthful question. Are you really putting that sign up for me? If you're not, it's okay. But can you just tell me? Because I don't want to waste your time.
Right.
And
you just said it, Mr. Moore. It's repeated. It's multiple times. So, but when it comes to online, I mean, obviously, if it's something egregious and something salacious, but most stuff that goes on, online related to the predator is cyber harassment, a little bit of cyber stalking, internet trolling, defamation, slander. If it happens one, maybe two times, maybe you can let it go, try to communicate, assert yourself. But if it begins to establish what's called a pattern, 3 or more, that's when you have to begin to take stock and realize that the online user, the agency, whoever you're dealing with, may not be kosher, and they may not be the individuals that you should be dealing with.
And I want to add one more point on that before we have to have you go for today. And that is sometimes your point of what you believe, might be okay. Somebody else might cause your bells or cause you to have to jump. If you feel okay yourself, there's no need to react. If somebody else says, well, you better do something. And I can't tell you how many times I've had friends get into trouble because boyfriend, girlfriend, somebody says to me, well, you better do something for me. If you're okay with the way everything is and you're feeling fine, don't let somebody else tell you how to run your life.
You are 1,000% correct, and maybe in the next show we can talk a little bit about odor.
Yes.
But exactly, I mean, yes, it'd be wonderful. We could all be what's called the word diplomatic. We're not seeing that right now in the geopolitical stage. But yes, you're correct. Diplomacy is a priority for all of us, being social creatures.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have to go. Our next show, which will be the following week, right after this, and you guys know that we talk about great things. So we're going to talk about odor, and we're not talking about something you smell. So if you want to learn more about that, definitely tune into our show next Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, or you can catch our pre-snippets where we'll tell you a little bit about what's going to be on the show, but you're going to have to watch the whole show to actually learn what odor's about. Dr. Nuccitelli, it is always a privilege, a pleasure, and an honor to have you on the show. And I look forward to having you on next week again, and we'll continue this great conversation.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Morley. Thank you very much.
Is there any parting words that you want to leave our viewers with today?
No, sir. I look forward to talking again as we approach the psychology of the online user of the iPredator in odor.
All right, everyone. We will see you guys back next time. But I have some great stuff to share with you in just a few moments. We're going to talk more about how our minds are evolving technology to cause things like our phones, having us watch people. We're going to talk about that technology coming up next.
Wow, Marcus, what did you think of him?
And just deep, intense, real great material and content that came our way today. And it's very educational, and I learned a lot.
I always learn every time he comes on, and we didn't have enough time to fit the whole interview on one show, so we actually had to bring him back. He'll be back the following week, so we can wrap up, because there were still some things I wanted to ask him, but we didn't have time. Yeah. And, I think what he does is make the things that are happening in life relatable. The fact that, well, it's not going to happen to my kid. It's not going to happen in my life. And I get that. I know you're smart, and I know you're always on top of things. But I'm here to tell you that you're not there every moment. Now, that doesn't make you a bad parent. It doesn't make you a bad brother or a bad relative. These professionals are experts in manipulating your son or daughter. Yeah. So that they can exploit them for many different reasons. So I hope that you will listen to everything he said, and that you will rewatch this video, as well as something really important I want to share with you right now. All right, parents and concerned guardians and friends, I want to share a safety tip, okay? You got to be careful with the internet devices, okay? And there should be no internet devices in your children's rooms. Now, you might say, well, gee, they have to do homework. Okay, fine. If they have to do homework, have the computer out in your family room, somewhere where you can actually be there and see what they're doing. Even if you're not there, if someone else, another parent, another older brother sees what's going on, they're not going to be able to just hide what's going on. So that's important. Always have social media accounts set to private. Turn off location tracking on them. Extremely important. If they have an iPhone, which is what I'm going to go over, but there's similar tactics for an Android, go to settings. Then look for screen time. Enable screen time. And start restricting the amount of time your children use this on the phone. You'll set a password, and they will only get a certain amount of time to use these applications. Settings, privacy, location, services, and set your camera to never. Very important. If you don't do this, what will happen is these bad people, I'll call them the bad actors, will actually be able to track down where your son or daughter is, stake them out, meet them live, and this, ladies and gentlemen, can get very dangerous. Why don't you make a pact or sign an agreement with your child and let them know about internet safety? and what could happen, and that you care about them and you love them, and that you want to make a pact with them that if something ever happens like this, they will come and tell you. The last thing I want to ask you to do is get a router that has the ability to restrict the amount of time they're online and when they can surf. Most challenges happen when teens are home alone and their parents are at work or late at night. So what should you do? Block internet traffic late at night. You're probably in bed, and there's probably things that are happening that you wouldn't be on board with. So why don't you get proactive and block these things? Now, what I want you to understand is that it's important to place the location of your computer in a public accessible area. This way, you know they're not going to pull up content that you probably wouldn't approve of. And if they do, you're going to be able to go there right away and say, what are you looking at? Or what are you doing? Let them know about the dangers of being in chat rooms and using applications. Let them know about what personal information is, what they shouldn't share. Personal information is anything that would allow a stranger, someone they don't know, to be able to identify them. That could be your name. That could be your address. It could be a lot of different things. So have that conversation with them. But lastly, I want you to know that you do love them, but why don't you share with them time and plan activities with them so you could play games, talk about your day, but have fun activities scheduled. And when you decide to become genuinely interested in their life, like Mr. Dale Carnegie said, they're going to want to become interested in you. And best of all, they're going to befriend you, and they're going to open up to you when things don't seem right. You see, teens don't open up because they always feel that they need to be the rebel. They're still going to do that in some areas of their life. But when it comes to internet safety, let them know that this shouldn't be one of those areas because you value them. Remember when you're talking to them not to make it a lecture, make it a suggestion. Talk with them a little bit, and then when you have this time and something comes up that isn't just right, they're going to share with you what's going on, and you won't even have to ask. I hope that this episode of the Jay Moore Tech Talk Show woke some people up. And not only that, I hope that we have given you the information to arm you so that you not only can manage the safety and security of your child, but prevent them from being a statistic and having you filled with nights of challenges and troubles, all because you were too busy to take time to be proactive in their internet and social media life. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. And if you didn't know by now, I care about you, your life, and your family. And I not only want to inspire you to become a better version of yourself and help other people become better versions of themselves, I want to make sure that you will live a very long time. I guess we got to say goodbye, Marcus.
Bye, everyone.
Take care, everyone. We will see you next week with some even more heart-wrenching details of how you can protect your child's life. Don't miss it, and share this episode out with everyone you know. Let's make sure that your friends, your family don't become statistics and they stay alive.